I would like to share a few thoughts about the importance of belief, as I feel like more than ever it's something that we kind of need for each other as well as our own kind of personal development. For me, belief, just like many other people, has been quite a wavering thing. In my kind of younger years, I relied upon belief to validate my efforts, whether that would be within my friendship or family group, whether it would be in my educational journey, whether that would be anything that would ultimately validate who I am and what I do, to give me guidance on the direction that I was going and whether it was worth it. Ultimately, on many occasions, I've felt that any kind of push forward, whether that would be personal self-development or maybe a better outlook or a better view of life, often kind of is and was pushed back with kind of negativity. So, for one example, I had very kind of poor confidence when I was younger for many different reasons, and so I kind of worked on that by pushing myself into kind of more social groups and trying to kind of get myself out there so I can maybe mix my skills and practice my exposure and just extend my knowledge and how I communicate with people. Often in those instances, the pushback was, okay, well, confidence is a good thing. It's a wonderful thing. It brings some strength into your words and your actions and what you do. The response to that increase in confidence was, okay, this person is cocky. There's always a counter to certain things. A certain person showing any confidence at all can be seen as overconfidence in comparison to the way they were before. And it's always that lack of context that kind of maybe eats away at belief ultimately. So that, as an example, was one of the many barriers that I came across that kind of pushed back on my personal development and ultimately the belief I had in myself, and ultimately the lack in belief that I had in myself fed into the way other people perceived me in their realities, and thusly kind of course, didn't have much belief for me. So just taking a step back, ultimately when I say the word belief, I'm talking about the validation, approval, acknowledgement, whatever it might be, in something without evidence beforehand. So some people may believe in man, bear, pig, or Bigfoot, for example. Some people may believe in whichever their religious beliefs may believe in without evidence. Sometimes you do have to take a leap of faith in certain situations and give people a bit of maybe more of a nourished beginning, almost like a nourished composting, I suppose, to allow flowers to grow. So, with that being said, and the what belief ultimately is, taking a step back again to the way I was a few years ago, I felt there was a lot of doubt in what I was doing. I was going into a career that not many people in my kind of social and family groups fully understood, nor my teachers either. I was trying to do things that were seen as very different. So people at my age would often go to clubs. When I used to kind of go out to Oxford back in the day, I didn't like clubs. I was bored. I didn't like the aggressiveness of it. I just didn't fit in. I tried, but with me kind of appearing to other social groups that Kieran just doesn't quite like to do the things that we do. We don't believe in what he is and what he does. I then began to doubt myself and not believe in myself, because I thought, well, why am I not like everybody else? Me realising now that it's a bit silly wanting to be a carbon copy of every single human on this planet. I back then just didn't believe in myself so much, and it got to a point where I was beginning to kind of withdraw my efforts to kind of improve my life in terms of doing things that I wanted to do. For example, back then I wanted to go to college to study graphic design, and I just doubted myself so much, and it got to a point where I suppose, received my first spark of self-belief. I realised that I couldn't bend myself to everyone else's expectations, socially or communally, because I'd always be unhappy. Why serve other people's perceptions of you, when you're the one living on your reality? Ultimately, they don't. They can walk away at any time. They'll maybe have a conversation with you 5 minutes at a time, or maybe for an hour, whatever, but either way they walk away. So why support things behind the scenes that people ultimately do not care about? So at that stage, I just began to go, actually, look, I don't feel like people quite believe in what I'm doing. I'm going to just trust myself and kind of go for it. So I went forward to college, studied this particular thing that I loved, and I just felt so much happier that I disregarded people's disbelief in me and allowed that to offer me an opportunity to grow and to study something that I really thoroughly enjoyed and was just really excited about, and it added meaning to, one of many meanings to my existence and in my time here on this planet. And with that being said, I began to realise actually part of belief is your perception of reality. You may believe that people don't believe in you because either they don't understand, they don't seem to want to ask you about whatever you may do, whatever it may be, so you perceive things as disbelief. As time goes by, you realise the complexities of people's behaviours. Ultimately, everything is outside of your control. So all you can control is yourself, your personal belief. So in whatever you're doing, only you are educated enough in your situation and the context of your intent that only you can fuel that power. Ultimately, people do not need to power you in what you do. They'll be powering their own things and their own choices, and you should, of course, support their choices. But before ultimately a door is opened, you have to believe that door is open. Otherwise, why would you lean forward to move the handle? So belief is such an important thing, and it can be a life-changing thing. And one last thing before I finish, at that time when I wasn't quite going anywhere, I didn't quite feel like anybody believed in me at that time, there were a couple of individuals that just gave me a glimmer of something. I always remember my lovely art teacher at school. She had this wonderful phrase, "Go for it." And I've always remembered that so many years later. This expression, kind of "go for it," ultimately, it kind of validated my actions to move forward though. So for example, when I was working on these art projects at the time, I was kind of doing so as a distraction from the tumultuous time I had at school. And she knew I used that ultimately as escapism to review my situation or just take a break. So every time I kind of presented a project to her saying, look, I'm planning on doing this, what materials will I need, what can I do? She just helped me kind of get the pieces I need together and just simply said, go for it. That immediate validation, that immediate belief, okay, I know you're going to do it, go for it. And it's something I always remembered, because having that single light during the times I perceived as being quite dark, it just kept me going and ultimately kind of fueled me into the design I am today. Again, another lovely person I'll always remember is this friend of my family. She lived in this lovely house, had a lovely family, lovely children, and lived in a family position that was maybe better equipped than my family was back in the day. And me being me, having a family with no experience in design and doing what I do, she just for some reason took a shine to me and wanted to just give me any opportunity she could to help me to get myself into the design industry. So she'll give me little design projects for her companies that she was working on, and also allowed opportunities for me to teach her how to use design software so she could enable her business. And it was lovely that person, speaking to a then nobody, obviously I knew that I wasn't, I know now that I wasn't a nobody then, everybody's a body. That little belief that she had in me then, again, it just made me think, maybe there could be something, maybe there is more to this, than meets the eye, and not everybody sees me as this little kid going nowhere, doing nothing, and maybe there could be a better future for me, and maybe there'll be more people out there. So these two individuals I've never forgotten as I look back on my journey and see how far I've come and what I've overcome, what I've been successful in and unsuccessful in. The fact is, whether I've been successful or unsuccessful, I've at least given these things a go because of these people. if I had truly given into my disbelief in myself, I would have never have explored this avenue. I would have never have worked in an area that I think I would have loved. So yeah, it's just a thought for the day, really. You never know. Just giving someone a little bit of belief, even before they've given you proof to validate their claims, can change a life in its entirety. Just one person is all it takes. So I suppose the question is, whose life will you change tomorrow in the way you believe in them and seeing the way they will go? So yeah, be happy, go for it, believe in each other. Thank you.